Good afternoon everybody, welcome into my craft room for the Stampin' Chat Live for April. If you're joining me live, welcome. If you're watching this on the recording either on Facebook or on YouTube afterwards, then you are very welcome too. I'm coming to you from a fairly grey New Forest location. The sun keeps threatening to come through, but it hasn't managed it yet. But never mind. It's also not very warm, so wherever in the world you are, I hope you've got sunshine and warmth. Today I'm going to be talking about the new in colours for Stampin' Up, and I'll tell you a bit more about how I'm going to do that in a minute. But for the moment I'm just going to check that I can see myself live, so let's just turn the volume down and make sure that everything is looking as it should be, because you never know. Make sure that I'm live where I ought to be. And yes, it looks like I am. Hooray! Let me just check that I have got some volume on that.
Yes, it looks like I am.
There we go. Right, turn that back down. So Facebook have done another major update. So maybe they fixed the volume issue again. If you've watched me before, you will know that periodically the sound comes and goes, and I always get comments about it, and I always apologise because I have tested my equipment. I've also taken some technical advice from an expert, and it's a Facebook issue. There's nothing I can do about it. So sometimes it sounds okay on Facebook and it doesn't on YouTube when I've uploaded it. Sometimes it's absolutely fine, and sometimes there's a problem everywhere. But unfortunately and frustratingly, it's out of my control. Anyway, we'll see. If you are watching live, do let me know how everything is looking and sounding. I will hopefully get some comments up in a minute. All right, so first of all, some Stampin' Up notices, if you like. The last chance sale, that's the sale of absolutely everything that isn't carrying forward into the new annual catalogue, that ends on the 30th of April, which is Tuesday. So there are still big discounts to be had on things. Quite a lot has sold out, but if you've been thinking and wondering, well, time is running out, so have a look and see if there's anything there that you absolutely have to have before it's gone forever. I'm putting in my next group order at 9:30 on Monday. That's the 29th of April. If there's anything you need, then let me know. If you can collect it from me at home or at one of my classes or events, then all you have to do for shipping costs is pay a £1.40 contribution, and that way several people all order together, and between us we make up the full cost of the shipping. If you've got any questions on that, then obviously just get in touch. The new annual catalogue launches on the 1st of May. I'll show you the cover for that in a minute when I put the camera down to my desk. I am absolutely not allowed to show you anything inside the catalogue until the 1st of May, so I will need to resist the temptation to flick through. There are some sneak peeks of products from there, but I won't be able to show you where they are in the catalogue, I'm afraid, because Stampin' Up set the rules and I'm a rule follower, so I'm not going to open the catalogue on camera. My first order from the new catalogue will be going in on Saturday the 4th of May at about 9:30. That's the morning after my catalogue launch event, so I will have a lot of orders to put in then. If there's anything you would like from the new catalogue, if you let me know by then, I will make sure to include it, and the same cost for shipping applies, £1.40, as long as you can collect it from me or at home or at a class. If you'd like me to get it shipped to you at home, I can absolutely do that, in which case the full shipping price of £6.95 is the one that applies. Again, just get in touch. My next Facebook Live will actually be sooner than usual because I'm doing an online catalogue launch Facebook Live on Friday the 10th of May at 2 o'clock, which is I think 2 weeks today. And then my regular monthly one will be on the last Friday of the month, the 24th of May. Is that the last Friday of the month? It probably is. No, it's not. The last Friday of the month is the 31st, but I'm not around then. So there we go. Friday the 24th it is. Okay, I think that is all the news and notices. So I'm going to pop the camera down now and give you a view of my desktop, and we'll get started. I'm just going to find a bit of washi tape, cover the camera over while I move it. There we go. Find my settings to reverse the camera. Those are all still there. Hallelujah. And let's just hopefully get everything in the right place at the right time. I will once again endeavour to put all the leads out of the way. If you're a regular, then you know that is an ongoing problem. I've yet to find something that really works well to keep my cables out of the way. Okay. Have I moved that the right way? There's a real, quite a long lag on me seeing what you can see. There we go, that might be better. Make sure that you can see plenty of my desk. Okay. Right, let's get some washi tape and tape my microphone cable out of the way if I can. Got to give myself a little bit of spare, otherwise I won't be able to move at all. Let's see if that works. All right, again, I'm just going to wait for my camera to catch up. There we go. There's always a slight angle on this just because of the way my stand works, but hopefully we will be okay now. There, good, okay. So the new annual catalogue looks like this. If you're coming to my catalogue launch, you'll get one there. If I see you before, I'm trying to get your catalogues to you a little bit early because I know people like to have a good look as soon as they can. So I'm going to move that out of the way and bring in some cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the new colours of card, and I'm going to show you the corresponding patterned paper. Then what I'm going to do is make 3 projects, and I'm making 1 of each design for you today, and then I also have 4 of each design which I've made in all the other colours. So you'll see me actually working with the colours, you'll see me put them with other colours that you're familiar with, and then hopefully you will be able to see how this year's new colours work, and maybe even pick out a favourite, who knows. I've got a favourite already. So this is the names of the 5 new colours. If you've been around a while you will know this, but just in case, every year Stampin' Up bring in 5 new colours, and they have a shelf life of 2 years only. Now occasionally they come back when they refresh all the colours, but essentially expect the colours to just be around for 2 years, and then that's that. And Stampin' Up look at all kinds of forecasting for fashion, home decor, and so on and so forth, to pick out and predict the colours that will be popular, and they are usually pretty accurate. I have already seen adverts using many of these colours. It always surprises me at how accurate they are. So the new ones arriving: Petunia Pop, Peach Pie, Summer Splash, Pretty in Pink, and Shy Shamrock. And if you've been crafting with Stampin' Up stuff for a while, you will recognise Pretty in Pink, which was an in colour, I believe it was an in colour rather than a main colour, quite a long time ago when I was a fairly new demonstrator. That colour was here, and they've brought it back, and it does actually fill a gap, so I'm quite pleased to have it back. I didn't love it back then. I like it a lot more now because I think I can see where I would use it more easily. However, actually, can I fit that? I can fit that up in the corner there, so you can have kind of got a note of the colours as I go down them. So, Petunia Pop. This is my favourite colour. It's bright, it's cheerful. I love pink. Pink is my favourite colour, and I really, really like this one. I think you can actually mute this or make it really pop depending on what you put it with. It's a really interesting, useful colour. I'm looking at my iPad, and it's coming up on the screen actually as much brighter than it really is, which is always a problem with looking at colours on a screen. If you're on my catalogue mailing list, you will have a bookmark in there with samples of the cards, so you can actually see what the colours are like. If you don't have a demonstrator, then get in touch and I will happily send you out a catalogue. So this is Petunia Pop, and I thought I would just add a couple of colours that you're probably familiar with next to it, just so you can get some idea of where it sits. So Petunia Pop here. Now this is Berry Burst. Berry Burst is a darker colour, and in reality, not so much on the screen, but in reality it actually makes the petunia look quite muted. And then this one I'm putting behind it is Melon Mambo. This is a bright pink. And again, it makes Petunia Pop look quite muted in comparison. So although I described it as a bright pink, it's not as bright as it might be. So there we go, Petunia Pop, love that. Let me show you some patterned paper in that colour as well, because it somehow looks a little bit different that way too. So the packs of in colour patterned paper come with 40 sheets and 8 sheets in each colour. And for each colour you've got 2 double-sided designs. So this one with flowers and leaves on it, let's give you a better view of that. I think this is really pretty. And then on the back of that we've got stripes, which you can obviously have that way or that way. They're kind of distressed stripes. In fact, all the paper's got a slightly distressed look to it, or almost as if it's been chalked on a background. It's lovely. And then the other one has got these little irregular circles all over it. I always think that's a really useful pattern to have. And then on the back of that we've got a sort of a tile design, a little bit geometric, but quite kind of soft. So those are your Petunia Pop colours. The next one I'm going to show you is Peach Pie. Now this really fills a gap. We haven't had a sort of a mid-orange, and it's really, really nice to see it. It is a very peachy colour. If you cut into a peach, it might be a slightly more vivid colour inside your fruit, but this is definitely peach. I really like it. Let's put a couple of colours with it that you might be already familiar with. So let's show you Pumpkin Pie, which is a much brighter orange. And let's show you Calypso Coral. There we go. We've actually got, that would make a really nice card, those three together. So you can see Peach Pie is really quite subtle when you put it against the coral or the pumpkin pie. Let's have a look at the patterned paper. So here's your floral. And this is your stripes on the other side. And then, if I can get hold of it, this is your one with the circles and with the geometric pattern. Right, next off is Summer Splash. Now this reminds me of Bermuda Bay, which discontinued a little while ago, but it's a softer colour. It's not as deep or intense. It's a really beautiful mid turquoise. So let's put it with a couple of colours that you might well be familiar with. This one is Coastal Cabana, which is actually paler. And then this is Pretty Peacock, which is much darker. Again, we've got a lovely analogous colour scheme there. I must remember these and make some projects with them. So that's your Summer Splash. And the paper's in this colour. Here's your floral. And the stripes on the back. And then the circles. It's actually looking more green on the screen than it actually is. It's really hard to show colours truly on a screen, and everybody's screens portrays them slightly differently. but that is Summer Splash. So let's do Pretty in Pink next. So this is a mid pink. If I'm thinking of pink, this is the pink I would think of. It's looking a little bit darker on the screen than it actually is. But let's put it with a couple of others. Let's put it with Bubble Bath, which is a fairly new colour. I think we've only had it a year, but it's much paler than Bubble Bath is much paler than Pretty in Pink. And let's put Flirty Flamingo with it as well. There we are. So Flamingo is much more towards the salmon side, but you can see that Pretty in Pink kind of sits right in the middle of those. And papers again, flowers and leaves, stripes, circles. I just love circles and stripes together. Let me show you those. Wonderful. And then the geometric one. Let's put it around that way. I think that's the way I've been holding the others. And then last but by no means least, Shy Shamrock. Now I'm not a great lover of green. I mean, obviously green's important, particularly if you like florals, which I do. But I didn't expect to like this, but I really do. It's a lovely green. It's actually looking, on my iPad anyway, looking quite true to life. So hopefully it's doing the same for you. So this is Granny Apple Green, which you can see is much brighter, much more yellow, tending towards olive. And this is Shaded Spruce, which is a much darker green. I always think of Shaded Spruce as quite a bright green, but actually in comparison it isn't. So Shy Shamrock then, and here's your coloured paper in that same colour, your flowers and leaves, your stripes, your circles, and your geometric pattern. So there we go. That then is all the new in colours. So what do you think? Do you like them? I really love them. I like them a lot more than the ones that are outgoing, and the existing ones we've got, which are kind of the more neutral shades, Pebble Path, Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, Moody Mauve, Boho Blue. I like those and I use them quite a lot, but these are really my kind of colours. They're bright, they're cheerful, kind of summery colours, really lovely. Okay, so let's make a card. So what I'm going to use for this card is the Deckled Circles dies. So these are carrying over from the previous annual catalogue. If you don't have this set, think about it, because it's, I think, an absolutely brilliant set. It makes interesting die cut circles because you've got this wobbly edge on them. And the largest one is really huge. That's my hand. So they're really as big as my hand. That large one measures very nearly 5 3/4 inches in diameter. So it's big. And it's unusual for us to have shapes of dies that are that large. And the first thing I'm going to do with that is actually create a card base. So that's going to be exciting in a minute. The other things I'm using are the Layers of Beauty stamps. Now these are new. They're not shown on the box at full size. They're actually larger in real life than on the box. And these have dies that coordinate, and they also have masks which you can use to colour in the flowers once you've stamped them. If you are coming to my launch, I'm going to be demonstrating these. They're lovely. They have an awful lot of potential. So I'm going to use those new stamps. Again, I can't show you them in the catalogue because I'm not allowed to. And I'm also going to be using, just trying to find it. There we go, the happy anniversary stamp that's there, and I'm going to use, probably anyway, some of these little images on here. And then I've cut some labels using these dies which are new. These are the Unbounded Love dies. These come with coordinating stamps, and they're actually in a really big suite that has 2 sets of stamps and dies, as well as papers and so on. I really love these. I got the corresponding stamps, which is a word stamp set. I didn't get the whole suite, but I did get these. And you can just see how many label dies there are in there. They're fantastic. And a couple here. Look at the detail on these labels. They're absolutely beautiful. I really like those. So just a couple of spares that I've got. Okay, so new stamps, new dies. And I'm going to be creating a card using the peach pie card. And then I'm actually going to stamp in pumpkin pie ink, as well as the peach pie. So let's find my peach pie. There we go, peach pie ink. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a card base. Now, you may know this, you may not. If you have a card base folded like that, and if you then lay a die over it so that the die goes all the way around but actually misses a bit, if that makes sense. Let me hold that up so you can see. So my die is going over the edge of my card where the fold is. Now if I now cut that, so I'm cutting a double layer of card and my die is on the card on the right and the left and the open edge, but on the folded edge it's actually over that fold, missing a bit. Then when I've cut it, I will end up with a shaped card base. So I'm going to go and do that now. I can't get my die cutting machine under my camera, but I'm going to line up this die so it's pretty much to the right and left edges, it's down to the bottom, and then there's just a little bit extending at the top. So I'll be back in 2 ticks when I've cut that. There we are. So that's my die. Let's take that off. Let's pop out what we've cut. Depending on your machine, you may need to run it through a couple of times if you're going to try and cut a double layer, but I didn't need to. And here is my shaped card base. So you can cut it flat at the bottom if you like, if it's not going to stand up properly, but I'm just going to leave mine like this. And now I'm going to work with that. So I've cut, this is using the very largest die of the deckled circles, but I've also cut some using not the next one, but the next but one, if you like. So the third largest. So this is the very largest and this is the third largest. So that will fit on the front beautifully. Now, depending on how much you had your die off, you may need to just trim that straight, or you may not. I probably won't need to with this. So that's the layer I'm going to stamp on. I've also cut an extra layer, which will be my insert. So I've got this very large rose image here, and I'm going to ink it up using the Peach Pie ink pad. I'm going to take my ink pad to the stamp because it's a really big stamp, and so it's much the easiest way to ink it. And this stamp actually works every way. You can have it that way, you can have it curving that way, or so on. So I'm going to have mine kind of sideways. If you've got a stamping tool, then you may find that's the easiest thing to use for these very large stamps. I can just about manage the large block, but it's not easy. So a stamping tool is much easier. So there we go, that is my beautiful outline. It's gone very slightly off the edges, which is something I don't mind at all, but it pretty much fills up that circle. And I'm going to have a sentiment over here into this white area. So let's glue that onto my card. Now this white layer pretty much came up to the very top edge, and because it's a deckled circle, some bits are slightly, you know, if they're bumping outwards, they're a little bit bigger than if they're bumping inwards. So you may find when you glue it on that although you didn't think you needed to trim anything off, there is a tiny bit here, in which case you can turn it over and cut it, but that's not the case with mine. Mine just pretty much fits exactly. So what else have I got in here? So I've got one of the frames from those, what are they called? Unbounded Love dies, which I showed you. This is a really pretty floral label. I cut it twice. I cut it once from white, like that. So that gives you the frame, and then this is the bit you pop out of the middle. And then I cut it again from Peach Pie card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of each. So I discarded the Peach Pie centre. I've kept the white centre. I'm going to stamp on the white and then glue the two pieces onto my project, a bit like a jigsaw, so they fit back together like that. And that way I've got some nice white stamping area there to stamp on. Now I could stamp directly on my card, but I might not have left enough space, and you can see that the leaves of this image kind of intrude in that. So actually I much prefer having some plain white to stamp on. So let's do that now. Let me find, I've got a happy anniversary stamp here, and I'm using my darker shade of ink, Pumpkin Pie. And this should just about fit on here. I'll cut off a couple of little end bits, I think, on the capitals and maybe the Y, but it's perfectly readable. I'm happy with that. And I said I might use some of these little ones. Depending on where you've stamped this, if you feel like you've got a lot of white space, there are some little images in the stamp set that you can infill. There's a little flower and a leaf, there's a little flower sprig, and there's a little tendril piece there. So when I show you these cards in the other colours, for some of them I have actually stamped some of those extras. Okay, so I'm going to glue down my frame. Now, if I'd been sensible, I would have actually cut this using some of the adhesive sheets on the back, but I forgot all about them. So I'm just using some little dabs of glue. I kind of scribble over those lacy bits, and then I just catch glue on bits of card here and there. So let's get my fold at the top, and I'm going to just pop that there. And I've just realised I should have checked this first. Have I got this? No, I haven't got this the right way up. Okay, let's quickly whip that off. Do as I advise you, and check which way around it needs to go first, because this is not actually symmetrical. glue it over the top of where I had it. There we go. If I've got any stray bits of glue, I'll come in with my glue eraser once it's dry. There we go. This will fit now. So check which way around you have it. That still doesn't look right. No, it is. It is right. There we are. It is right. I've just stretched it slightly. There we are. I think next time, I've done this once and I didn't have a problem, but I think next time I would actually glue the white piece down and then put the frame around it, which would completely solve any difficulties I'm having now. But it's quite good. I can show you, so I can still slide that glue. There we go, and that just fits in there. It's not the most perfect card, so I'll show you one that is perfect in a sec, because I did do another one that was much better than this. There we are. So what happened there was when I peeled my frame off, I stretched it very slightly, so it's not 100% perfect fit, but it does fit perfectly because I showed you that beforehand. There we go. Stick your words down first, then you won't have that issue. All right, so somewhere I've got some rhinestones. I always say it's a handmade card. If you want 100% perfect, you can buy one that's made in a factory. And we'll just, oops, pop a couple of these on. Ooh, I've lost my glue dot. Stick that down. There we are. And then my insert inside, I'm going to stamp the same words on that. And then I'm going to use some of these little floral stamps just around the edge. What should we do? Let's... Do you know, I'm not stamping well today. Let's fill in those gaps. There we are. There we go. So some little flowers at the bottom and at the top. And then that will just pop inside. There we are. So that is my, not quite as good as it should have been, peach pie card. But let me show you the others, which are, they're all almost the same, but there's some slight differences. So this one is Shy Shamrock. So this one I've oriented the large stamp a different way. And this thank you is from another new set, which I'm going to be making all my customers buy because it's just so useful. This is called Simply Said, and it's got thinking of you, happy birthday, thanks, birthday wishes, let's celebrate, yay, thank you, miss you, hello, just a note. So a really, really super useful set, and it's a very reasonably priced one as well. So that thank you is from there. Then this is the Petunia Pop one. This is Blackberry Bliss on there, and that is Shaded Spruce ink. On this one I used Berry Burst with the Pretty in Pink card. And You Make My Heart Smile is in with the florals. That stamp is in there. And then finally, this one I used the birthday wishes from the Simply Said set I just showed you. And this label here is from those same Unbounded Love dies. And if me lift you that one up and show you, I've done exactly the same idea there with the white center of one label surrounded by the Summer Splash leafy edging, which I did do really nicely. I didn't mess that one up. So that's what it should look like. So there you are. That's my first card for today. 5 versions of it, one of each. So fairly simple and straightforward card. Let me just pop everything out of the way. I'm also going to clean my stamps, otherwise I'll get orange ink on everything. Okay, so that first one then, that was a fairly straightforward card. Clever tip for some die cutting, so you can make shaped card bases. You could of course use those smaller circle dies to make gift tags or little cards. But essentially just sticking with the individual ink colours. The only contrast on them was a slightly darker colour chosen for the words. So the next card I'm going to show you has touches of another colour for contrast. Not much, but a little bit more than you've just seen. So let me get rid of that basket of things and pick up the next one. Okay. I'm also just going to drink some of my tea, which is sitting here going cold. Oh, Mary, that's a good idea. So Mary says she's written the name of the contrasting colours on the reverse of the relevant colour on her bookmark. So Mary only got her catalogue this morning. She came and picked up an order and she had her bookmark in there. So I think that's a brilliant idea, Mary. Well done. Very good reference. I might have to go and do that after this. All right, so this time I'm going to make you a card using Summer Splash. And I'm going to use the Simply Zinnia stamps. So these are not in the catalogue. They are what's known as an online exclusive, which means they're exclusively shown online. However, I can order them for you in the usual way. You don't have to place an online order for them, although of course you can if you would like. So I promised you a card with just a little bit of contrast. So I've got a Summer Splash card base. That's my insert. Then I've got a contrasting layer of Pretty Peacock. And I'm going to do most of my stamping in Summer Splash, but I'll do a little bit in Pretty Peacock. So I'm going to use this large bunch of zinnias. I'm going to use the zinnia flower head, and I'm also going to use this Thank You So Much stamp. So all the stamps are from that one set. And my label here is cut again from those same label dies I was just showing you. This is really nice. It's got a sort of an indented edge around it, and it's a very useful size. Lots of the stamps I've got from all sorts of sets will fit on that label. So the first thing I'm going to do is to stamp the zinnia head on my card base, just to give the card base a little bit of interest. And I'm going to use the matching ink Summer Splash and just turn the stamp around as I work. I don't need the centre of my card stamped because that's going to be covered over. So I'm just going down the side. And then this gives a kind of a tone-on-tone effect if you use the same coloured ink as your card. Let's just check that I haven't got any big gaps. So that's going to go on there like that. No, that's going to be fine. So the next thing to do is to stamp my card to go down the middle, and I haven't written out the measurements for you. So my card base is 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches, and I've scored it at 4 inches. My contrast card is 5 3/4 by 2 1/4 inches, and my white card for stamping is also 5 3/4, so they're all 5 3/4 high by 2 inches. So in case you want to completely recreate this. And then I'm going to use this bunch of zinnias stamp with Summer Splash ink again. And I've taken my ink pad to that stamp because again it's quite a large stamp. So I'm going to stamp this roughly in the middle, and the stamp is wider than my card, but I do like when a design kind of goes off the edges, rather than everything having to be inside the confines of what you're working with. Alright, so I can do a little bit of gluing now. Let's glue my stamped card to my contrast. So I'm going to have a border at the right and left sides, but not at the top and bottom. And as often happens when you cut something by hand, this is about, I don't know, a millimetre. My white is about a millimetre longer than my coloured, so I'm just going to turn it over when it's really easy to see the bit that needs to be snipped off. So let's do that. And then this piece I'm going to just glue on the front here. And again, it's just fractionally long, only a tiny bit. So just turn it over and I can snip along there and custom cut that. And it's actually easier, I think, to cut my layers slightly long and then trim them left a bit, rather than try and have them exact and then find that one of them is just very slightly short. I hate it if a layer is a little bit short. There we go. So that's my card base. Let's create the label now. So I'll bring in my Pretty Peacock ink, one of my die cut labels, and just stamp this. There we are. Thank you so much. And I'm going to also, I've just shut my ink pad, I don't want to do that yet. I'm going to ink the edges of my label. So rather than cut another one in a contrast card, because this kind of disappears just a little bit against that, I'm just going to dab that label into my ink pad and just kind of rock it to do those curved ends. Now, there's quite a lot of ink on the edges of this. I just need to be careful that I don't touch those inky edges before they've dried, because there's, as I say, quite a lot of ink on there, and then transfer that ink elsewhere. One of the samples, I did do that, which wasn't great. I had to remake part of it. So just check for ink before I handle it. That's actually a little bit of card glued to my finger. Let's get rid of that. Okay, dimensionals. Now I could just put 3 on here, but actually if that gets put through the post, this label will get mashed down into the card if I do that. So I would rather use some extra dimensionals than risk that happening to something that I've just spent time and love making. There we go. So before I close that up, let me just do the insert. Let's stamp something on the insert. Let's do the zinnias again, and we'll intentionally stamp them off the edge. There we go. Now I can close that one up. I haven't put any words on that. It gives me plenty of room to say what I'm saying thank you for. So that is my finished card. A Summer Splash Zinnia card, and I have made one in each of the other new ink colours to show you. Oh, that needs to go forward a bit, sorry. Got the bottom chopped off. Marjorie, hi, welcome. You'll be able to watch the beginning on the replay if necessary. Now, just realised I've forgotten. Let me put some little... I was thinking I'm sure that needs something on it. What was I going to do? And then I thought maybe I left it plain, but no. These are called In Colour Resin Dots. So you've got 20 in each of the colours, 10 big and 10 small. I think it's 20. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, 12. So 24 in each colour. So let me just take some Summer Splash ones. There are actually two kinds of embellishment in the ink colours. So there's these resin dots which are kind of flat and matte, and then there are also some really pretty iridescent faceted ones. So whatever look you're going for, you're going to have something that will go nicely with it. All right, so that one is Summer Splash with touches of Pretty Peacock. This one is Peach Pie with touches of Pecan Pie. So we've got all the puddings there. And we have Petunia Pop with Blueberry Bushel. Pretty in Pink with Blackberry Bliss. And Shy Shamrock and Shaded Spruce. That one's a bit of a tongue twister. So there we go. And I played around inside. I did some different things inside on these. As well. So there we are. That is matching in colours with one other contrast. I'm just going to drink some more tea and then I'll go on to my final card. Actually, I'm just going to clean those stamps, otherwise they will make everything they go near inky. And then the final cards I have for you are bringing in colour schemes, if you like, so more than one additional colour. And once again, I'll make one with you and then I will show you a version in all the other colours. So I'm going to make you a Petunia Pop card, and my contrasts are Berry Burst and Basic Grey. So I really like those three together. And I've embossed my Basic Grey layer with a new embossing folder, which is fab. It's called So Swirly. And there are two embossing folders in the new catalogue, which are big, and I mean big. Put that on there and hopefully you can see how large that is. Put my hand on there bigger than my hand. So these measure 8.5 inches by 6 inches. This one is so swirly, and there's another one called, I believe, Dotted Circles, which is really lovely too. So the size of these is fantastic. You can use them to make much bigger projects without having to worry about adding a join that you've then got to disguise. So I really like that. This one is not a 3D one, this is a standard one, but the embossing is very, very dimensional on it. So I have a Petunia Pop card base with an insert inside and a little piece of that patterned paper I showed you earlier with the flowers and leaves to trim it with. And I've got my basic grey layer, and then I've got another little piece of the patterned paper with a contrast background. So my card for this is 3¼ inches by 2¼ inches, and my paper is 3 inches by 2 inches. So just uses a small little piece that possibly you might be tempted to chuck in the bin, but that will work for this card. Then I've also got, for my sentiment, I've got a die cut circle. This is from the Stylish Shapes dies. These are carrying over, which I'm very pleased about. This is a great set of dies with multiple sizes of circles, squares and banners. And then this little circle, which has got stitching detail around the outside, is from the dies that I used on the first card. And let me just find them. The Thoughtful, no, not Thoughtful, Unbounded Love. I keep wanting to call them Thoughtful labels, they're not, they're Unbounded Love. So those, and then this is the corresponding stamp set. So I'm not going to read all of these out, but it's a great set. With all sorts of things in it. Best of luck, feel better soon, celebrate, friend, with sympathy just for you, happy birthday to you and yours, my heart goes out to you. So lots and lots and lots of words which you can fit onto these labels. So I think this is a really great, very useful bundle. So I'm going to be using the Just For You stamp, which fits really nicely inside this circle die. So there are 2 circles in here which layer nicely together, but the smaller one wasn't quite big enough for the words I wanted to use. So I used the bigger one for the white, and then I've used a different circle die from those Stylish Shapes for the contrast. So I'm also going to use some of the ribbon. So there is a beautiful stitched ribbon in all of the new colours. It's a linen look. I don't think it actually is linen. No, it's polyester, but it looks like linen. It drapes really nicely. It ties beautifully into a bow that really holds its shape. So very nice ribbon. Okay, so a fairly straightforward card to make. I'm going to glue my layer on here. I don't think I told you this layer is my standard layer, which is 5.5 by 3¾ inch. I always add extra glue if I'm gluing something that's embossed, because the whole of the back of that card is not going to have glue on it because of the dips. So the glue's only going to go on the raised areas. So I just add some extra. And it always takes just a little bit more time to grab, again, because you've got less contact. There we are. And then I'm going to layer my paper and my contrast number 2 card together. And then I'm just going to glue this one onto my card front. A little bit more glue because, again, it's only going to touch the raised areas of the embossing. That's where we are so far. Love this pink and grey together. Gorgeous. All right, so let me get my sentiment ready. So I've got my Petunia Pop ink, my Just For You, and I'm just going to glue those two together. And then I've just got some decisions to make, really. How do I want to play around with this? I think I'm going to have a tied bow, so let's do that. Okay, that's about the right size, I think. Bring in my ribbon scissors. So I could put this in all sorts of places. I could go asymmetric. I'm going to go with that actually. The ones that I'm going to show you in the other colours, they're all slightly different. So you can make the same card but still have different versions. I find it quite hard to make identical cards. I always want to tweak something. Alright, so I'm going to pop this up towards the top of that panel. I've put that up on dimensionals, and then I'm going to attach my ribbon with glue dots, which is absolutely the best thing for ribbon. They grab instantly, there's nothing wet to soak through to the other side. One would almost certainly be enough, but I tend to put on 2 or 3 just to be on the safe side. And then let's just nestle that underneath. There we are. And then finally I've got some of these shimmer gems. They're the other ones in the in colours that I was talking about just now. So again, you've got large and small in all the colours. Let's just pop that on something white, you'll see them better. And if I tilt them, I'm hoping you can see that they're shimmery and glittery. So they're faceted and they have sort of a shimmer surface to them. They're really pretty. So I want just a little scattering of these, I think. There we are. That's my card front, then I just need to finish the inside. I don't know, there's something about this pink. I just absolutely love it. So I've got a white insert, I've got a little strip of paper. This is 1/2 inch wide. I quite often end up with little narrow strips like this when I've cut panels for other things. So I just keep them and they make brilliant decoration for an insert. It's just a little bit long. And there we are, my finished card. So let's show you the other ones. So this one is Summer Splash, which I've teamed with another new colour. This is a new basic colour. So we have basic black and basic white and very vanilla, and this is basic beige, which is a really nice sort of stone colour, quite pale. It's a very good neutral addition. So Summer Splash, basic beige and Night of Navy on that one. I've used the matte resin dots there because I felt it was more of a masculine card, and because this ribbon is matte, there's no sparkle or shine on it, I actually would use that on a masculine card as well. So I've just looped a piece behind for the ribbon. This one's Peach Pie, which I've used with Coastal Cabana and Melon Mambo. And this one I've wrapped the ribbon around that centre panel and added a bow. And these two embossing folders are two of a 3-pack of embossing folders, which are called Basics, I think. And anyway, they're in the online exclusive, so again, you can see them in the online shop. You can order them from me. I can order them for you. It's a really nice set. Then this one is Shy Shamrock, which I've used with Highland Heather and Blueberry Bushel. And this embossing folder is the distressed tile one, which is carrying over, I'm happy to say. And then finally Pretty in Pink, where I've used also Soft Sea Foam and Pool Party. And this is the painted texture embossing folder, which again is carrying over. So I've shifted where I've put the little circle element. I've changed the positioning of the ribbon. I've obviously changed the embossing folders and the colours, but that you can see that's exactly the same card, just the same things put on slightly differently. So they do actually look very different to each other. So let's pull all the cards back then. Trying to get these all around the right way so they will actually stack. There we are. So 3 different cards then, in all of the new colours. So a straightforward stamped card. I did use a little bit of contrast ink, but just one colour essentially. This one making more of a single contrast colour, and then these with 2 contrast colours, and more of a kind of a colour scheme effect. I love these new colours. I really hope that you will too. And I'm just going to turn the camera back so I can say a proper goodbye to you. If I can find the end of my washi tape, I can cover you over so you don't get motion sick while everything moves around. Let's just stick that on. Oh, and I need to take the tape off my cable, which actually I think worked okay this time. Didn't seem to fall down and obscure things just as I got a stamp to an ink pad, so that was good. Right. Let's